Yes, this is DJ Ski.
I'm Jeff Wilson.
Hey guys, Andy Broom, Vice President of CGC Cards.
Hey, this is Jason Howarth with Panini.
Yo, I'm Q Harrison.
Hey gang, this is Tom Verrilli. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Whatnot.
This is Teapot from Sports Card Investor.
This is Adam Rips with V-Friends.
What's up? This is Aaron from Slab Stocks.
Hey, this is Clark from 5 Card Guys and the Cards to the Moon podcast.
Hey guys, this is Jay with Wild Card.
What's up everyone? This is Duke Dodson from Graybows.
What's up everybody? This is Chris Kelsey from Nash Cards.
What's up everyone? This is Mark Hill from My Card Post.
This is Ray Schulte.
This is Chase Krim.
This is Cody from Texas Roadshow Shop.
This is Mark Aaron from WSB Radio in Atlanta, and you're listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show.
I'm loving the content.
Loving the content here.
I'm loving the content here on the Sports Card Strategy Show.
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 And I'm telling you, the Sports Card Strategy Show.
This is the Sports Card Strategy Show with your man, Paul Hickey. What's good?
Be sure to subscribe for year-round advice on keeping your portfolio up to date.
Part of the NoOffSeason.com Sports Card Network, the #1 place for advice on how to make money flipping sports cards. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, there is no off-season.
There is no off-season.
There is no off-season.
And there's no off-season.
You already know, there is no off-season.
No off-season!
All right, you ready to rock?
Ready to go.
When you get into this game, the reason why you pay someone like Paul Hickey to get your sports card strategy together is because sometimes when you're starting out, you need perspective, you need wisdom, you need insights. And so he's been around the track enough times where he can actually coach you up and guide you. Doesn't mean he's going to take you to the promised land tomorrow, but you now have a coach by your side that can advise and kind of even create these pathways where you can get the education yourself. And that's a lot better than thugging it out on your own. Thugging it out on your own.
What? The kids better buy my rookie card now, because after this year, the price ain't coming down.
Welcome in, everybody. I'm your host, Paul Hickey. It's time to sit back, listen, learn, and earn with me on the Sports Card Strategy Show. 11/11, make a wish, fam. Happy November 11th. What are you wishing for? I'm wishing for good health and happiness to all of you. And of course, that we all continue to make smart, fiscally responsible decisions to make money flipping sports cards. Today's show is going to be really fun. We're just 48 hours away from when I reveal my 5 in 2025, the 5 players I will be narrowing my focus to in 2025. We're going to have my guy, Lefty McKee, guess the 5. So Lefty, if you're out there listening today, be ready, baby. Get your list together. Narrow it down to 5. And maybe we'll let some of the live chat participants on Wednesday guess some of the 5 as well. But what we're going to talk about today is, did the Cowboys wish for Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders next year? Colorado is on fire right now. The 18th ranked Buffaloes blew out the Texas Tech Red Raiders 41-27, handily beating the weird tortilla throwers on their own field, going to 7-2. Shedeur, my guy. Travis, my guy. Shilo, Deion, love all of you. Nothing but the best wishes moving forward, as we will get into some of what the pundits are saying could happen with the Cowboys. And we've talked about this. Deion, Cowboys, Shedeur, Cowboys. If not Cowboys, could it be a different pro team? I mean, Deion's played, he's played all over the league, but the Cowboys happen to be the team that needs a coach, needs a quarterback, needs a lot of help. Do they have the draft capital? Will they have the draft capital and the assets to be able to get a deal like that done, not only with Deion, but acquiring Shedeur, acquiring Travis? We'll get into that. That'll be interesting. We'll talk about how to approach sports card shows. We've still got some big shows. There was the Toronto Card Expo over the weekend, and we talk about some card show strategy with our guy, Clark Kim from Cards to the Moon, coming up later as we do our collaboration pods with Sports Card Strategy Show and Cards to the Moon. A little experiment Clark and I have cooked up for you guys. And Cooper FLAGG had his first Tops Now. Yep. Did you buy it? It just ended. Hopefully you bought it. I sent out a buy alert to all of the one-on-one members of nooffseason.com. So they got the first dibs on buying those cards on Friday last week. Many of you emailed, many premium members of nooffseason.com also emailed me saying, hey, look, there's not going to be another premium pod out before these end. Should I buy them? I responded to all of you saying, yes, you should buy them. It is over now. Hopefully you bought in to the Cooper Flag Tops Now release. So I was right about Shedeur. I flag planted that Shedeur would be a top quarterback in college football in 2024, and that he would end up being one of the top quarterbacks drafted in 2025. It's looking like it's going to be that way. His play on the field is doing the work. His own merit is earning it. It's not just because there's hype around him, but he is a legitimate NFL quarterback prospect. I said it would be true. It looks like it is true. Some of my 11-11 wishes go to Shedeur Sanders for good health and happiness, as they do to all of you, as well as Deion, as well as Travis Hunter, the rest of the Buffaloes team. Let me know what you guys think of the rumors. Deion, will he go to the Cowboys? I mean, he's won Super Bowls with Dallas. And according to Stephen A. Smith, according to Rex Ryan, they need something. Yeah, no crap. Even Paul Feinbaum believes that Florida State could be a landing spot for Coach Prime. But Jerry Jones, I could see it happening. I'm going to flag plant right now, and I'm going to double down on what Rex Ryan's saying, but I'm going to flag plant hot take. I think Deion goes to the Cowboys. I think he's their head coach. And I think that they try to draft Shedeur with their first pick, but I also think they try to acquire a second first-round pick. So in 2025, they have their own first-round pick. They have their own second, their own third, their own fourth, apparently, their own fifth. And I thought that they had traded 2 fourth-round picks away, one for Trey Lance and one for Jonathan Mingo. So they might not have their own fourth in 2025 anymore. This could be an outdated article that I'm reading because it is from June 2024. So I think maybe because they traded for Jonathan Mingo and they had traded for Trey Lance earlier, maybe they don't have their own fourth in 2025, but it looks like they have 3 fifth-round compensatory picks, their own 6th-round pick, and a 6th-round compensatory in 2025. It also looks like they have all of their own original 7 picks in 2026, which could mean that they have enough draft capital to trade up back into the first round. Maybe they take Travis with their first round, or maybe they trade back in to take Shedeur. I could see them trying to maybe acquire. Now, the trade deadline is come and gone for this year, but I think as soon as the new year starts, I believe after the Super Bowl ends in 2025, when the new league year starts, you could see the Cowboys start to acquire picks to potentially use them to trade into the first round. I think they go full rebuild with Prime, Shedeur, Travis, and maybe even Shilo. I think you could see something completely unprecedented in sports, where you have all of those guys go from Jackson State to Colorado to the Cowboys, which would be amazing. It would be amazing for the sports card market. Will I take Shedeur as one of my 5 players to invest in 2025? Stay tuned for Wednesday's episode. Will I take Cooper Flag? Cooper Flag again. Hopefully you all got in on the 2025 Bowman U now. This is Cooper Flag's first official card, and it is him taking off in flight, midair, 2-handed dunk in his debut on November 4th. What's also cool about this is not only could you buy it in bulk, I bought 40 of these. I know Lefty bought 60. I think Interner bought 20. And I had people emailing me, premium members emailing me saying that they bought 40, they bought 20. It looks like it's going to ship probably in early December. So we should get them in early December. If I don't get any parallels, I'm definitely grading all 40 of mine. If I get a parallel, I might take that one out and sell it and grade the rest. There's also this game-worn sneaker autograph that you could potentially get. There's 5 horizontal game-worn sneakers, autos. I would guess that these would be redemptions. I would guess that they would go for a crap ton of money. There's also a out of 10 horizontal game-worn sneaker and out of 25 horizontal game-worn sneaker. I mean, obviously the 1 of 1 with the Nike swoosh in it would be amazing. But there's also just your parallels out of 49 blue, out of 25 purple, out of 10 red, out of 5 orange, out of 1 gold. I mean, this is, we talk about how to make money buying Topps Now and Panini Instant cards and grading them. And what we talk about is buying a card that's unique within the player's current ecosystem of cards and doing it for a top prospect that doesn't have many cards out yet. And Cooper, it doesn't get any more perfect of a recipe than Cooper FLAGG. Cooper FLAGG is the guy to be doing this with. I would expect big pre-sales of this card. I'm not even going to mess with that. I'm going straight to PSA with mine. And, you know, maybe even some to CGC, the perfect place to slab your favorite sports cards. From their crystal clear holders to their affordable pricing, CGC Cards is the perfect stop for your grading needs. Go to cgccards.com to start grading today. And CGC has that pristine 10 black label that PSA doesn't have. So I say maybe by the time December rolls around, I can be persuaded to send some of them in, since I have 40 of them, send some of them into CGC. And because they are this Bowman Topps Now product that has a very high gem rate, and we've seen some black label 10s out of Beckett sell for big money. We've seen even just some pristine 10 non-black label 10s from Beckett sell for some big money. We see the PSA 10 sell for some big money. Hate to grade chase only with CGC, but I mean, I think that's the play. Try to get those CGC pristine 10 gold label, phenomenal looking holder, phenomenal looking slab, phenomenal looking label. Never had one before. Have held one in hand down at their headquarters in Sarasota, Florida, but it was one of theirs, not one of mine. So definitely gonna be thinking about, do I send 5 of them to CGC and 35 of them to PSA? Do I send 10 to CGC? Let me know what you guys are doing with your Cooper FLAGGs. Did you get them? Did you miss them? And it's going to be big. Cooper FLAGG's going to be big. So hello to everybody in the live chat. Hello to everybody on Apple and Spotify. Who's your card guy? Arturo Torres, Lynn, Course Correction Cards, Sean, Red 5 Cards, the Card Society, Manny, Joel, Cyrus, and all of you on Instagram. Too many of you to shout out on Instagram, but thanks for joining in live. However you get your sports card strategy show, it's the #1 place to help you make money flipping sports cards. So super happy to be, plugged into Cooper FLAGG, super happy to be plugged into Shedeur. Wondering, is he going to be one of my top 5? Is Cooper FLAGG going to be one of my top 5 in 2025? By that, I mean, for those of you who don't know, I will be revealing the 5 players. And yes, I will only be buying 5 players in 2025. We've talked about maybe looking at an exception to the rule. Maybe I'll take an exception. We'll talk about that with Lefty on Wednesday. So we got a PSA reveal to get to that is relevant to all of you loyal listeners of the Sports Card Strategy Show. And if you're a first-time listener or just a recent listener of the show and you don't go back all the way to when we've been talking about all these plays and everything like that, I would say there's a lot you can learn from what I'm about to show you in this PSA reveal. So basically, I sent in a PSA order that had mainly my own cards in it. And mainly they were Tops Now and Panini Instant cards. There were a few client cards in here. Premium members of nooffseason.com who grade with me. They obviously get an amazing experience grading with me. They're going to get these cards back soon. I should have these cards in hand in the next probably 48 hours. But what's significant about this is that the 2024 Tops Now Jaden Daniels number 3, I graded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 of them. I got 3 9s and 12 10s. And what I'm excited about is that Jayden's stock has risen and that those cards are selling from anywhere between 80 to actually all the way up. I think I saw a sale of $150 in PSA 10. So having that card in hand this week, I will be listing those cards probably before they even get to me. It's probably going to be one where, I'm just trusting FedEx that they get here on time. I have the tracking number. There's no reason to believe that I don't have those 12 PSA 10s in hand this week, which gives me the confidence to go ahead and list those in auctions. Why? Because Jaden Daniels has more and more cards coming out. And the play was to be first to the market with PSA 10s in the first place. So to have 12 PSA 10s, 3 9s, I'm ready to get that money. So when you look at, PSA's sales on eBay from the PSA vault, you've got $140 sale, $154 sale. You've got other non-PSA accounts selling for $137, $130, $128, $130, $133. The auctions that ended prior to the Commanders losing by 1 point to the Steelers are selling for a little bit more than the ones that ended after that. But still, you've got some pretty massive Jaden Daniels Tops Now card number 3 PSA 10s going right now. So that play is working and I'm excited about that. And I'm going to get mine listed. I think what I'm going to do is maybe mix up doing some in buy it now towards that higher end price and then maybe flip them to an auction if I don't get the offers I want, and then probably just auction several of them as well. Just to ensure that I at least get, near that $100 price point. And then on the 9s, if I can, I think my strategy with the 9s, honestly, guys, and I would encourage all of you to do this with your 9s from these Tops Now and these Panini Instant first to the market rookie quarterback plays. Don't list them in auctions. Just list them in buy it nows for like $40. And if you can get $40 for your 9, that's a profit. So I think this is going to be a huge win. Now, on the Caleb Williams, I graded card number 2. So they came out at the same time, if you remember. I graded, I believe, all 20 of my Caleb Williams. Yes, I did. I graded all 20 of my Caleb Williams, and I graded 15 of the Jaden Daniels. And the reason I did that is because I pre-sold 5 of the Jaden Daniels. So I didn't pre-sell any of the Calebs. I just sent them all in, and I got all 10s with 1 9. So I got 19 10s on the Caleb Williams and 1 9 on the Caleb Williams. Now I did send them all in, not in the penny sleeves and top loaders, the way that PSA is now sort of dictating that you need to do. I sent them all in the original case that they come in. And so that tells you that even if you send them in the case, you get high gem rates. Now, I wouldn't advise necessarily sending them in the case anymore because PSA has updated their terms and conditions to kind of frown upon that, and there may be some slight penalties. But what's interesting about the Caleb is like, because he's lost a couple of games in a row and he looked pretty putrid at New England, or at home against New England this weekend, unfortunately. Ups and downs of a rookie quarterback, to be expected, honestly. But these are selling for between $40 and $60 in PSA 10. In fact, auctions that ended yesterday sold for as low as $36 in a PSA 10. So what I would recommend is don't auction the Caleb's. Just set a buy it now or best offer at this $59.99 price. And hopefully you'll just get people binning them, buying them now. Because I think if we all kind of set the market at like, look, if Caleb has here's the rest of that strategy. If Caleb has a big couple of weeks over the next couple of weeks and they haven't sold, switch them to auction, because the market's going to respond to big performances from Caleb Williams. We had the Hail Mary literally a couple of weeks ago where it was Caleb versus Jayden. And that went in Jayden's favor. Had that game gone in Caleb's favor, we could see sales prices of this card being more at the 115 level, up where Jayden's average is. So, then there was a $91 sale in an auction that ended before last week's games where he looked bad at home against New England. So this card will sell for close to $100. In fact, there was a buy it now of 125 and of 130 back in October. Interesting move. Those were pre-sales. Interesting move on the pre-sale. We talked a little bit about the pre-sale and whether or not to do a move like that on the premium pod this past week. So check out that episode. Premium members, nooffseason.com. And if you're not a premium member, get a free 30-day trial there right now. I mean, it's free for 30 days. You're going to get a ton of free information to help you make money flipping sports cards for 30 days. So go do that. Thomas McCauley is a premium member at nooffseason.com, says Paul is the man. And Sean Red 5 Cards definitely agrees with him on that one. So thanks, guys. Really appreciate you in the live chat. Wanted to talk about my PSA reveal because those plays are working. Those plays are working, and that's why you guys listen to the Sports Card Strategy Show. So up next, I've got some great info in a conversation that I had with my guy, Clark Kim. He is the co-host of Cards to the Moon podcast. He also runs 5 Card Guys, and we talk about not only card show strategy, like what to do when you go to a card show, but we also talk about like what baseball cards should you be looking at buying as buying season approaches rapidly for not only baseball, but of course, basketball, football. There's a lot to consider. So I asked Clark, what do you do to prepare for buying season? He asks me, what do you do to prepare for card shows? And I think you're going to like this content coming up with Clark Kim and myself. Let me know what you think. What's going on, Cards to the Moon and Sports Card Strategy Show listeners? Of course, I'm Paul Hickey, and he's Clark Kim from Cards to the Moon and 5 Card Guys. We are collaborating consistently here for both of our podcasts, and good to see you, my man. How you doing?
Good. It's always good to see you, Paul. and just off air, we're talking about, maybe we could just dive right into it, because just off air, we're talking about how here in Toronto, we got the biggest sports card show coming up this Thursday to Sunday. It's called the Sport Card Expo. And listeners of Cards to the Moon, we just had our newest episode out today. And with my 2 co-hosts, we're just discussing strategy. Like every year we talk about strategy in terms of, how we approach a card show, and, how it's dependent also on the sports card market. Are prices coming down? So is this a good buying opportunity, or are prices still inflated and vendors don't want to take a loss? So, you might want to look to trade. And we discussed a bit about that. So Cards to the Moon listeners and Sports Card Strategy Show listeners, if you're interested, listen to the latest episode on Cards to the Moon. But what I wanted to talk to you about is, it's always good to get other people's opinions. And since, we have this collaboration, I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to ask you, Paul, we actually met at FanFest New York City. So we've been to a card show, and I'm sure we have slightly different strategies in terms of what we're looking for and how we're trying to find good deals. So I'm curious, if I can ask you that question, you know, when you go to a large card show or any card show really, locally or do you have like a strategy in mind when you approach it, or does it differ from card show to card show?
Yeah, that's awesome. I love this discussion. I think it probably differs a little bit from card show to card show, because to me, it's all about mindset, and it's all about what are your goals for that individual time period. So that would be why it would differ from card show to card show. So for example, you know, just throughout the year, you might have a different mindset. You might have different goals, not only hobby goals, but life goals and things like that. But generally, I have kind of a set of rules for how I approach a card show. And I've become pretty strict at following these rules over the years, because when I first started going to card shows, I found it very, very easy to feel obligated to make purchases. You're standing right in front of people, and you feel like, I mean, it's a good thing to feel like you want to support them, but oftentimes at card shows, the pricing is not where it should be.
Right.
And the vendors are willing to play the game of negotiating with you. And I think that for the first time card show patron, it's important to realize that you shouldn't feel obligated to buy anything from anyone. You definitely are in a situation where there's a lot of there should be a lot of competition for your business, because you're literally in a room, especially at the Sports Card Expo, you're literally going to be in a room with like probably like, I'm guessing it's between 500 and 1,000 tables or something like that.
Yep.
Like, you know, it's probably just a massive show. So consider it like a situation where people have to compete for your business. Another thing that's different for first-time card show patrons is that I think most of us are used to shopping online now, and not just outside the hobby, but definitely inside the hobby, where you have eBay and you have other marketplaces that you can search for things. So it's very different, because when you go to a card show and you think about, I want to try to find this one card, that actually can be a trap. It can be kind of a dangerous trap, because if you're looking for only one card, or maybe let's say specific cards, I mean, it might be that you're looking for 50 specific cards. Like if you're looking for specific cards at a card show, that can be a trap, because card shows are not designed to necessarily give you good deals on cards that you are hunting for. Card shows are designed to go the other way around. If you're looking for good deals, think of it like, I need to be open to picking any card that is the right card at the right price,
right,
at the right time for the right player. So it's like, it's almost like this reverse engineering, like how you would normally shop on eBay. Instead of searching for a card, you should go into a card show searching for a deal. So that kind of goes back to my first rule, which is like, don't feel obligated. So having said all of that, I would just go a little bit more specific. So the way that I approach a table with that in mind is I will comp out, say, 2 or 3 cards in the showcase of the vendor, and I'll comp out 2 or 3 cards in like value boxes, and I'll look through dollar boxes real quick if they have dollar boxes to see what kind of cards they have. And if the prices that the dealer give me out of the showcase and out of the value boxes indicate that I could put together, say, 10 to 15 cards in a bulk deal and buy everything for, say, 85 to 95% of the sticker price, or the, you know, AKA the recent comps, right?
Yep.
Then I think it's worth staying at that table and trying to put together a deal. And you should be able to do this in like 3 minutes. And so like you should, if you're like me and you're looking to make money flipping sports cards, this is the approach. I could see some listeners going, whoa, this is super intense. I just want to go and have a good time and like try to find cool cards. And if that's your thing, that's great too. But again, you should still do the negotiating part of it, because while it may seem like you might get a little bit of FOMO, like if you leave the table, they might sell the card. That's true. But chances are you could probably go find that card on eBay So really, the dealer should be competing for your business, and you shouldn't necessarily feel obligated. And then one other thing is, like, if you're setting up as a vendor, I think it's important to remember that you should price your cards to move, unless you're into, like, if you're a lot of vendors. I've actually I have a lot of empathy for a lot of vendors that I've met at card shows over the last few years, because a lot of them were people who bought in to their inventory in 2021. Whereas, as you know, and maybe the new listeners aren't familiar with the fact that basically if that's the case, pretty much you're underwater on everything.
Right. Yeah.
And so I have a lot of empathy for those vendors who are underwater. And so they're struggling. If they price the stuff to move, they're going to lose a lot of money. So I think what a lot of people do is they overprice their stuff. But I think it's important to remember that, like, if you're a vendor, so you've paid, a couple $100s to set up a table, and it's your time and it's your time organizing and everything like that. Don't put cards out on your table that you're underwater on that you think might go back. Like your Mike Trout card is a good example, right? Like I wouldn't want you to sorry to bring that up, but
okay.
I'm also messing with you. Like your Mike Trout card, don't put it out on your table. But maybe your Luka card, maybe you do put it out on your table.
Sure, right.
Because you got room on that. Now that's a lot, that's a lot in like one answer. And there's definitely more. I love this topic, but I think
that's good.
It's what I've learned. Like I'm very hard on myself when it comes to wanting to improve based on my previous performance. So when I approach a card show, it's like game day. Yeah. And then I want, like, the next card show I go to, it's like the next game, and I want to perform better. So that's kind of
No, that's awesome. No, I appreciate those insights, and especially like what you said about, because I've fallen into that trap of looking for specific cards. And then when you do find those specific cards, you almost feel obligated to make a deal or overpay, because you're like, oh, I finally found this card in the sea of vendors and the sea of cards that are at these large card shows. So that's really good advice on trying to search for a deal. And one thing to add to that was, when you look at vendors, and you'll know certain comps of certain key cards, and that right away you could tell if this vendor's reasonable in terms of their pricing, right? Because if you find, we talked about the silver Prism Luka Doncic 2 weeks ago on our collaboration pod, and you already know how much it's going for right now in recent comps. And if a vendor is overpricing it by 2x, then probably you're not going to find any good deals at that vendor. But if you find another vendor that has reasonable comps, then you're more likely to find other cards at reasonable prices where, like you said, you could cobble something together to find a really good deal. So yeah, great advice. I was just thinking that by the time I aired this on our podcast, the Sports Card Expo will be over, but at the same time, there's so many local card shows throughout the year. And I think what you said is just advice that's applicable to any card show that you go to in the rest of 2024 and heading into 2025.
Yeah, thanks, man. And I think, like I mentioned, mindset. And I think what I mean by mindset is like, so you made me think of when you said, like, you search and you're looking for the one card and then you find it. Like, it's almost like not only do you feel obligated to make the deal with the dealer, but you also, at least I start to think about, well, I told my wife and my friends and my kids that I was coming here. They're all going to ask me, what did you get? They're going to be excited for me and all that. And so because I'm not necessarily the collector and I'm more of the flipper, I actually tell everyone around me when I'm going to a card show, more for myself than for everybody else. But I'll say things like, hey, look, I'm going to meet people, build new relationships, which is true, but it's really like, the reason I do that is because I don't want to come home, not have bought the card that I was excited about because it wasn't for the right price, and then have everyone around me in my life think that I had a bad time and feel like maybe it wasn't worth my time. The reality is it is worth my time. I love going to card shows. I think if you can have just develop your own mindset of like, don't overpay for the card, but don't just not overpay for the card. Put yourself in a situation where you have goals to build relationships with people, because I think what I've seen happen a lot is that there's deals that happen around card shows, but not always at card shows.
Right.
Like there's people that they meet each other and they exchange contact information. And then even though somebody was looking for a particular card at a price at the show and didn't find it, because you built that relationship, you could still get that card later from that person.
Yeah.
At the price you wanted, even though maybe it was overpriced at the show. And I think that can be just as fulfilling as going to the show. So I just encourage people, it's basically a way, take the pressure off of yourself when you attend the show and think of it more of as a long game of, this is one thing that I'm doing to enjoy the hobby, meet people, build relationships, and then maybe there's some follow through later. Because the more shows I go to, I keep seeing the same people, which is cool. I like that. I meet new people, but I also see people old friends. So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I might have to clip this part of the episode right before the expo because this is valuable advice. So appreciate it, Paul.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. So good stuff. Well, thanks for asking me. I feel like the last couple of recordings we've done together, I've talked too much and not let you ask me questions. So I'm glad we led with that, because I think that's good stuff.
Good.
Okay. So I asked Clark to give me as many cards as he wanted that he's looking to buy raw and likely grade in the end of sometime to the rest of 2024 or even into 2025. And I think I specifically ask you for baseball cards? I think I might have.
You did.
and the reason I did that is because, and I could be wrong, but what I know about you so far is that's kind of your number one sport.
True.
Correct?
Yep.
So, and baseball, I would say, is my number 3 sport behind football and basketball. And so I enjoy kind of understanding from a baseball collector and investor what they're looking for. And I have the cards in front of me. So Clark gave me 5 cards. He didn't necessarily know why he was giving me 5 cards. One was to have a discussion around it and learn from him why he's targeting these 5 cards. So let's start there. And then I'll reveal kind of what my side of this is as well. So You're looking for a 2023 Topps Heritage Gunnar Henderson Real 1 rookie on card auto, a Jackson Churio 2022 Bowman Chrome first prospect auto refractor out of 499, a Jackson Holiday auto out of 25 from 2024 Topps Chrome. So this would be a rookie auto orange refractor, a 2023 Topps Heritage Real 1 red ink Corbin Carroll auto special edition serial numbered out of 74. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. It doesn't have to be serial number 73 out of 74. Just want to.
The way you asked me too is what's on my watch list. So I just
that was on the watch
cards.
list. Okay.
Yeah. But it doesn't have to be 73 out of 74 specifically. No.
Okay, I figured that was the case, but that copy paste from the watch list. Love it.
Yes.
Okay. And then 2020 Bowman Chrome Bobby Witt Jr. Mega Box Mojo Blue Refractor Auto out of 150. So these are all obviously great cards, top players. Not surprised by any of that. Right off the top, I thought, okay, Clark's looking for young players who have already hit the major leagues. Thus, maybe their prospect market isn't as inflated as it once was. So it might be a good time to buy in. Obviously, still a lot of upside. Am I correct in that? And then what else? Why else are you targeting these cards?
Yeah, no, those initial reasons you mentioned are bang on. They're past the prospect hype. I feel like these players are, at the start of the 2023-24 season, we're beyond that. So they've been called up to the MLB, and like always, the players kind of the shine kind of wears off a little bit. And for some of them, especially someone like Jackson Holiday, they just struggle in the big leagues. So then obviously the value depreciates, and some more than others or faster than others. But I like to look at those players where they have that top prospect pedigree. The talent is still there, but in my opinion, they just have to adjust to major league, competition. And so I feel like those are the players I like to target, right? And in terms of the other, like, so I kind of wrote down my notes on like 4 or 5 factors I look for, generally speaking, when I look to invest. Okay, so the player is one of them. So it's someone that's off the prospect type, but they still have potential, and their card prices are have depreciated somewhat. The card brand. So there's the Topps Chrome, Bowman Chrome are elite for baseball card collectors, but then there are other ones that I feel are undervalued. Like you see a couple of Topps Heritage brands that don't go as much, but I feel like there's a solid base of collectors that like those type of cards, and I feel like it's more of a mid to long term play. So, and especially the red ink, which is serial numbered. We're talking about the Corbin Carroll example to 74. So there's that. That's the third factor, the rarity. So a lot of these are numbered, serial numbered cards. I'm not looking for base cards anymore, even if they're autographed. And this, they're the ones I look for. Some of them are numbered to 499, some of them are numbered to 25. It's all relatively within the same price range or budget that I'm comfortable with. So obviously for a higher caliber player, you look at Bobby Witt Jr. He's probably the best out of that list. And I chose a Megabox Mojo Blue Refractor. So it's not the pure blue, it's not the Bowman Chrome, but because it is a Mojo Blue Refractor, the prices aren't going to be as high as those other Bowman Chrome, even Topps Chrome, pure solid blue refractors. So, but the Mojo Blue Refractor is still a beautiful looking card, and it's still numbered to 150, like most blue refractors are. So, I like to it's a balancing game, right? So the higher caliber the player is, you might want to look for a card brand that's undervalued because the prices will, not be as high. And then the last thing I look at is the value of the card. Is it a good time to buy right now? Like Jackson Holiday, the number to 25, which is an orange refractor. Another little piece of information I like about this card is that it's a color match. The orange with the Baltimore, the Royals with the blue. So I look for little things like that as well. You look for the value, and the holiday cards have come down a little bit, but not as much as I would like. So you kind of have to play the waiting game a little bit too. So some play, Jackson Churio is a good example actually. Like he got the same kind of hype as Jackson Holiday, and Churio for some reason is, I think performed better than Holiday. Yet people are just gravitating more towards Jackson Holiday for whatever reason. On our podcast we call this hobby logic, things that don't make sense anywhere else in the world except in the hobby. So it's one of those hobby logic things. But Jackson Churio is a great example where the upside is still tremendous, and he's still a young guy, and you could probably get a nice lower serial numbered card at a better value. So those guys are kind of like, that's in a nutshell, I guess. That's how my brain thinks about which players, which cards I like to target, especially during the off season.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I love all of that. In fact, all of that is great strategy. And I would say guidelines, we call them guidelines at nooffseason.com, where, you want to, we generally say you want to look at, when we say the right card for the right player at the right time, what we mean is the card down in comparison to where historical data based on that player or like players indicates that it should go up, right? And so that's kind of the right time part. The right player, it's got to be like a guy with the market, so you hit on that. Yeah. And then the right card, I think it's interesting that, in football and basketball, there's a lot of releases from Panini that are just crap. And baseball might be a little different in that top. I mean, would you say that's true, actually? Like, would you say that baseball, because I think what you've done here is interesting. You've brought up another strategy that we don't typically look at, which is there a release for a top player where maybe it's not their top card and maybe you don't have to go that high? Maybe there's more margin actually in going to a release like a Heritage or something like that, as long as it's a short print or a serial number. Would you say in your experience is baseball unique because of the manufacturer and the way that they have the release schedule and things like that, and just the amount of releases for baseball being different?
I wouldn't say it's particularly unique, but because there are still sets in baseball that's garbage as well, right? So,
Can we name them off real quick? Is it like Gypsy Queen and like some
Yes.
stuff like that? Okay.
that's a good one. Topps Cosmic, that's a little bit
Yeah.
gimmicky, right?
Yeah.
So there are there are sets that are just if you're looking to invest or flip, you probably want to skip those. But then there are the ones that, Stadium Club, Topps Heritage, I feel like have the history and the tradition. That those are the sets that have been around a while, and for some reason, they're just, in my opinion, they're not as valued as they should be. So, and the cards look really nice as well. So those are kind of the same. Like I would call them like a tier 2 set if I'm categorizing them.
That's awesome. So, and it's interesting. And so my angle at this was to, other than learn from you on all of this, I also had a specific angle, which was to talk about this tool that I built back in March called the Formula. And the reason I built the Formula at nooffseason.com is, and I've talked about it on the Sports Card Strategy Show at length every episode since March, is there's like literally hundreds of thousands or even millions of cards that we could all be buying. And if our goal is to make money, either in the short term or in the long term or somewhere in between, there's got to be some kind of a way to prioritize what we're buying at any given time, because there's so many options. So the premise of the Formula really is to be it's a rankings tool, but it's to help people prioritize their purchases. And so essentially what we do is we look at raw to grade, we look at already graded, and we've started to look at graded to raw, where you can crack slabs and sell them raw for more than you paid for them in their slabs. I think you and I have talked a little bit about this, but what I wanted to do is just basically take these cards, run them through the Formula, and give you the results on whether or not any of these would make you any money on the raw to grade, right? Like we think, and that's not to say that, like, look, you've done a great job targeting, I'm not saying you've bought these cards, but you've done a great job narrowing your focus down to these 5 cards to put yourself in a position to, even if it's not a raw to grade win off the bat, maybe these do go up in value. To me, that's the hardest thing to do. It's a little bit more straightforward to go raw to grade and win that way. And then obviously when you pair that with a performance spike, it's even better. So I went ahead and ran these through the Formula, and I'll briefly explain like what that means. So basically we take a 30-day average of comps. And that's your target cost. So we give everybody at nooffseason.com a target cost. And then we look at, depending on the card, most cards this works, but if it doesn't, based on how long the card's been on the market for, we slightly modify it. But we look at a PSA 9, PSA 10 upside, and then we cross-reference that with the gem rate. So I mean, if gemrate.com says that it gets 80% 8s, well, then obviously we factor that in, but we give a projected average sale price based on, if you buy it for the target cost and you grade it, what are your likely grades across your submissions? And then what's your projected average sale price for that? So obviously it's like the higher the PSA 10 upside, the better. If it sells now, it's really hard to see this happening, but sometimes it still happens. If it sells in PSA 9 more than raw, that obviously helps. And then if it has a high gem rate, it obviously helps. But of course, it's still on the hobbyist to buy one at the target cost and find one that could potentially gem, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's a tool built to say, like, okay, if you're able to make as many of these plays within that same card as possible, you increase your chances of the ROI. And it's ranked based on ROI at nooffseason.com. So when I ran your cards through the Formula, and I think this could be because most of them weren't, other than the Jackson Churio refractor out of 499 auto, the others were so short printed, although there was enough data on the Bobby Witt Jr. Mojo refractor, the Jackson Churio refractor out of 499, and just those 2 out of the 5. unfortunately yielded a negative return from a raw to grade standpoint based on the projected average, like what you would have to pay for it, what grade you're likely to get back, what you would be able to sell that for.
Right.
Yields a negative return if you were to go to the only depending on the grading. Now that's not taking into account, Bobby Witt Jr. has the best July of all time. And, that could still happen. Right.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you is that when we look at these players, I can tell you the cards that the formula gives the best ROI numbers for.
Okay.
And you can see here where the more cards that we add to the formula, the more a picture becomes clear of if you're looking to invest in a particular player, which cards you should buy. So like from a raw to grade perspective, Bobby Witt Jr.'s 2022 Topps Chrome Update Auto, which is a $232 buy-in, which is pretty close to the one that the last comp of yours is 367 according to Market Movers.
Okay.
Sorry if you guys have like I know you guys mentioned Card Ladder on your show. Hopefully it's okay that I mentioned Market Movers on your show. Okay.
Yeah.
So that 2022 Topps Chrome Update Auto, 232 buy-in point, 812 upside in a PSA 10, according to the formula, which gives a 270 in a PSA 9. Based on the gem rate and all those factors, you're likely to get a 622% average sale price on a 232 raw to grade purchase. This includes your grading fees. It includes we take out taxes, shipping, marketplace fees, and everything. So this card will return you likely 97% on your investment of your $232. Now, obviously, if you only buy one of them at $232, that's a shot in the dark. You better feel really good about if that particular card is going to gem or get a 9. If you're able to buy multiple of these, you just increase your chances at that 97% ROI. So that's Bobby Witt Jr.'s number one card per the formula. I know we're running out of time, but in terms of Jackson Churio and Jackson Holiday, well, we can talk about Gunnar Henderson real quick. Gunnar Henderson's number one card per the formula is his 2019 Bowman Draft Chrome First Auto, just the base auto, 35% ROI on a raw to grade. Okay. Jackson Churio and Jackson Holiday. So Jackson Churio's number one card would be actually his 2022 Bowman Chrome Purple Auto out of 250, 33% ROI. And Jackson Holiday, and again, this is just raw to grade, right? 2022 Bowman Draft Base Auto, first. So 196 buy-in point. Still has now this might be a little bit skewed by the 365-day average cost. I'll say just a little disclaimer here, but it is yielding a 108% ROI on a raw to grade. So again, this is not necessarily meant to say you're guaranteed to make 108% ROI if you buy and grade that card. Rather, if you're looking to prioritize, if you have a budget and you're looking to prioritize which cards to buy out of all of them, this tool helps you do that. So I think, again, your 5 cards, like I asked you for them, are you even looking, like, would these be cards that you would even be looking to make a raw to grade quick flip on? Or when you look at these cards, are you thinking more of, these are cards I could hold for the long term and just wait until they go up because I'm so confident that I'm buying in at the right time and that these guys at some point are going to go up?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, with these 5 cards in particular, I view them more as cards that I can hold to mid to longer term because they're more rare. And and it's a good point that you made earlier too. Like a lot of it's dependent on their performance. Like I'm hoping for that performance spike in the season to come, in the 2025 season. So that's part of the equation as well. That's why that's the player factor involved. And I just like to to look at more rare cards that are serial numbered. So it's interesting that when you're doing your analysis, a lot of these raw to grade, the ones that the formula recommends are base cards, because in a sense they are more liquid as well, because the price point's more attractive, and you could buy in at a lesser price, the grading, and then of course if it gets a PSA 10, you could probably flip that more quickly. So that part was interesting, but not totally surprising. But yeah, I think we kind of talked about this before in the previous podcast we did together. But like with base cards, if you want to make a good profit, you might want to buy multiples. That takes more work, and we already said how lazy I am, generally speaking, when it comes to that stuff. That's but that being said, there is certainly a play there to do it that way. So I could see that point as well.
Hey, one more thing I wanted to run by you for today. We can talk more about this throughout the next several times that we collab. Is my strategy. I did a recap episode a couple of weeks ago on what worked best in 2024 and what didn't work as well. And one thing that I'm taking into my personal, I'm not saying that everybody should do this. In fact, I'm very outspoken on the Sports Card Strategy Show that this would be very hard to do, and it's not necessarily a recommendation. But for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to box myself into 5 players. I'm only going to invest in 5 players over the next 12 months. And in those 5, and I'm still deciding who those 5 players are. I'm going to reveal it in an upcoming episode of the Sports Card Strategy Show. There's going to be obviously a whole rationale as to why I'm picking the 5 that I'm picking. So there's a lot to consider. But my question to you is, like, we all know I'm just the flipper. You're a mix of everything. How do you place parameters around what you buy? Is it something like that you do ongoing? Do you do it year by year? Do you ever think through, like, hey, I'm gonna really like try to box myself into only buying certain types of cards or certain players or things like, how do you think through that?
Yeah. For me, I guess in a way I target probably 5 players as well, just in terms of GOAT players that I like to hold long-term, right? So those are always fairly consistent, So Luka's off my list because I was able to pick up a Luka, and if I sold my Luka, he would be back on the list because I would always like to have another Luka in my collection just to hold more long term. But there's the Steph Currys, and I don't know, with your 5, are you looking across all sports or in one particular sport?
Yeah, I'm looking across all sports.
Okay.
I feel like it needs to be a mix of more stable, like one needs to be a super stable asset that doesn't necessarily have any volatility. And I'm challenging myself because I've never really done vintage. So I want that to be like a vintage player.
Okay.
And then I want to go across all sports. So I want to do at least one baseball, at least one football, at least one basketball. And then I'm not like the hockey, soccer, tennis, golf markets aren't necessarily and actually hockey, I think, is exempt from this statement because I think the hockey market's like super strong and like there's liquidity there, there's opportunity there and everything like that. So I haven't ruled out hockey, but in terms of anything other than basketball, baseball, football, I'm hesitant to go there because there's I've been in those markets before and they don't move as quickly. And so to box myself into 5, there has to be 5 that I can move in and out of quickly and that there's enough action. Otherwise, if I'm only doing 5 players and I don't give myself enough action for 12 months, then it's going to be really hard. But yeah, I'm thinking, look, maybe there's a women's basketball player that's in there. Maybe there's, maybe there's like some different things that I need to do with like maybe college, like American football obviously is huge, but maybe there needs to be a college player in there and not just pros. And so I'm thinking through like what would be the right mix of risk and budget, action, all those different things. So I'm pretty close, but there's going to be a lot of players that are left off. And I think that actually this is a teaser for the audience. Like, there's going to be a lot of plays that I'm giving away on the Sports Card Strategy Show because they're going to be for players that I can't make them on. So,
okay. Yeah, you got me intrigued, so I can't wait till you reveal those 5 players. But no, that helps me understand what you're trying to do. But for me, going back to the questions, those 5 players are always on the list, and I'm always looking. But in terms of like, what kind of cards I like to target throughout the year, it's more like. I don't know. I feel like it's whatever the new set is. Is there? Do I feel like there's opportunity to go after? There's always a few cards that everyone wants. Those are always the cards that are always overpriced. So I never look at those. But then I always look at the secondary ones, and and then, like, I think that are interesting to not just myself but to other collectors. They're maybe looking a little bit off Broadway, so to speak. So those I like to make those fun plays every once in a while too. But usually, in terms of financial investment, I don't go too crazy with those, right? But it's still fun to just do that, to be entertained and to have fun in the hobby. So I like to do that.
For sure. I mean, I saw my profit margin in 2024 dip huge because I just bought into way too many players. I tried way too many things, and it makes sense when you do that. You're really like, you can't and shouldn't spread yourself too thin if your goal is to basically like have this be a steady source of income, because you're not going to win all your bets. And so you might win a couple. I'll tell you, like, Paul Skeens and Caitlin Clark ended up being like my biggest wins in 2024. But then there were like other players, like say Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, and some other guys that end up yielding, because I go so deep into so many different areas, trying so many different things. They eat into that profit margin. And so that's where the pick 5 came from. It came from like, you can't go so deep. You have to box yourself in, because then it's going to force me to make smarter decisions. It's going to, if I'm looking at a particular player's card and I know that I can only buy 5 players, it's going to make me go deeper into those 5 players to truly find the deals, do the research, and be more careful about things. Because I think we're all at that point of overspending and then trying to figure out how to get out of it and all that stuff.
Totally. Yeah, just having a deeper conviction on those 5 players. I like that approach. It simplifies things, and I'm going to save this question for our next episode we do together. But because you're more into football than I am, than us Canadians are, generally speaking. But to your point, part of the question was like, when do you bail on QBs? Because this football season has been crazy in terms of like, expectations not being met by a lot of teams. And I just wrote a quick list, like Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Jordan Love. You know what I mean?
Down. CJ Stroud, everyone's down.
Exactly. So
it's crazy.
To your point, if you spread yourself too thin, you're like, oh, one of these QBs are going to hit. The 5 losers are going to, bring you under
absolutely
for sure. Right?
Crush you. Yeah, that's a great point. All right, we'll talk about. I'll talk about that next time. There's a good teaser for the next collab. All right, man. Super easy to go 40 minutes with you. Sorry about that, but hopefully everyone got some good stuff. I sure did. So thanks, Clark.
Same. All right. See you in a couple weeks.
Man. Talk to you soon. Thanks to Clark Kim from 5cardguys.com, 5card Guys on Instagram, and Cards to the Moon podcast for joining me on the Sports Card Strategy Show today. Interesting stuff, talking about my strategy for 2025, picking 5 players. Brian Steeler 714 says, I think you'd be better off picking 3 to 5 players from each sport you like instead of trying to just pick one and hope he or she hits. Brian, I'm doing great, my man. Thanks for asking. Good to see you in the live chat. Appreciate your insights there and your thoughts. Yeah, I mean, definitely this is riling a lot of people up, getting them thinking. I've had a lot of people emailing me from the nooffseason.com fam their thoughts, and looking forward to revealing everything on Wednesday with Lefty and getting into the fact that, look, I'm not really trying to hope he or she hits. It's more of a strategic deep dive into each of the 5 players that I pick to ensure that I'm making smart purchasing decisions and that there truly is a play for their cards. Manny is in the live chat. Not a name I'm familiar with, so I'm going to go ahead and take this question. Hey, Paul, I've seen you discuss the crossover purchase strategy in the past. I'm curious what your opinion is on the PSA 9 to 10 upgrade strategy. I've seen a lot of mixed reviews. Manny, I always encourage people to submit their questions at nooffseason.com/ask, even if you're just trying a free 30-day membership, because you can give me many more details. So it really depends, Manny. Honestly, it depends on the card. It depends on the card, because you've got to look at each individual card and you've got to see, what does this cost in a 9 or in a 9.5 if you're trying to cross it over from one particular grading company to the other. You got to look at the projected average sale price in the, say 2 grades lower than you would hope to get, all the way up to what you would hope to cross it over to at PSA. So it really, really depends on the card. I got to look at not only that, but I got to look at what year the card's from. I got to look at the exact individual card. So like, for example, it would be foolish to say like, let's try to crack this Beckett 9.5 or 8.5 or whatever. It doesn't matter, the Beckett grade. You got to look at the Beckett subgrades, right? And you got to try to compare those over to how PSA would grade the card. You got to look at each, not only the card holistically in terms of what does this card sell for in this grade to that grade, but you got to look at each individual card within the card, like the actual card that you would be buying, because each individual card is going to grade differently or have a different chance of grading differently depending on its condition, its eye appeal, and everything like that. Eye appeal is huge at all the grading companies. And so, Manny, it can be a very, very effective strategy, but it can also be very detrimental if you don't do it the right way. And that's probably why you've seen mixed reviews, because there's a lot of people out there not doing it the right way, not because they don't know what they're doing, but because they're just a little bit inexperienced at doing it. The other side is the skill set and the ability to crack and prep the card for grading. I would not recommend, because you use the word crossover, I would not recommend literally crossing it over, because then you're paying PSA to look through someone else's slab that you're sending in. PSA is definitely going to be biased. They're not going to look at it and want to give it a better grade. So what you're definitely going to need to do is have somebody experienced crack it out, prep it for you, and send it into PSA. But definitely mixed reviews. I've had mixed performance on that strategy, because I've been learning a lot by doing, and I'm refining my approach along the way. And look, that may or may not be one of the reasons why I pick one of the athletes that I pick on Wednesday. So everybody, thanks so much for joining me on today's episode. Be sure to tune in on Wednesday as I reveal my 5 in 2025. If any of you want to try to guess who the 5 are, man, just look, DM me at Sports Card Strategy on IG, or drop a comment below on this video at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. If you're listening on Apple and Spotify and you want to try to guess who the 5 are before the show, go head on over to youtube.com/Paul Hickey and just drop the 5 that you think they're going to be. And if you want to troll me and put some other stuff in there too, that's fine. Everybody, thanks so much for joining on the Sports Card Strategy Show, helping you make money flipping sports cards. Happy 11/11, everybody. Good health and happiness to all of you moving forward. Thanks so much for being here with us on the Sports Card Strategy Show. If you enjoyed the content on today's show, there's plenty more waiting for you at nooffseason.com. Just go to nooffseason.com right now and get a free 30-day trial. You get our formula-based sports card rankings, sports card school, inventory tracker, the ability to grade with us, and the premium podcast where we answer an unlimited amount of your questions. Check it out right now at nooffseason.com. For everyone at nooffseason.com, I'm Paul Hickey. Thanks again for being here with us on the Sports Card Strategy Show. We'll see you again soon. Have a great day.